Ian, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, we are so excited to have you. We just had you here actually at our house.
Yeah, it was VIP
all
weekend.
weekend long, VIP weekend. So now what's so fun is you're one of the lucky ones who actually got to go at the very end. So now we know you really well, which is so much fun.
That was my plan.
Yeah. Well done.
Well played.
Well
really
done.
well played. Actually, I think it was the last spot available.
Okay, great. Well, it worked out in your favor.
Oh, jinx. Jinx. Okay, listen, right away, I want to dive into this. You are a true ops guy, right? You're a true integrator. And most people listening probably have not been exposed to this idea of you're either a visionary or you're an integrator / ops guy. Would you mind breaking that down? Because when people can find themselves, oh, I'm this, oh, I'm that, everything else we talk about will make more sense.
Yeah, totally. Like it's such an obvious split where you have the visionary who is like your fast-paced entrepreneur. They've got 20 ideas a day. And they're usually like the what person.
Yeah.
Me.
And then you have the integrator or the operator, the COO. There's a lot of different names for it, but it's the person that figures out the how. Like they translate all of that to the team. They go, okay, like you're going 1,000 miles an hour. You got 20 different ideas. Let's discern down like the one we can actually execute on, what we have capacity for. And let me figure out how to kind of control the narrative as we roll this out to the team so they don't feel like they're getting whiplash from that visionary.
Oh my God. Yes. We have been there. We've given Nick, who's our integrator, so much whiplash. It's painful. We've gotten so much better now. But it is a clear line in the sand for sure.
Yeah. One of the things I always find is like visionaries typically feel like they're the only person with their foot on the gas pedal. And that's why they feel like they need to go so fast. And the operator, the integrator oftentimes feels like they're getting whiplash. Like,
Sure.
well, I thought we were all in on this thing. Now we're all in on this thing. And so sometimes they can
God, you're
struggle to
describing
be,
my life.
they can struggle to be like adaptable. And so it's not that either one is like right or wrong, but I think if you can figure out how they work together, it can be really complementary.
Please tell us you're going to tell us.
Yeah, no, wait, this is really good. So right now people should be kind of identifying I'm a visionary or, oh, I'm like Ian, I'm the ops guy. I'm the integrator, right? For all the ops / integrators out there, you just mentioned flexibility. I think that's a superpower. If you can be an ops guy with flexibility, then that means you can speak the language of visionary. And usually where it breaks down is the, visionaries speaking the language of what I call dreaming and ideating, and then ops / integrators speaking the language of detail, like you're following this detailed path. When you have flexibility, you can speak both languages. And that's how you strike me.
Yeah. I think sometimes you have to be able to kind of translate or dabble in both.
Yep.
I did an event back in January on Maui, and we did owners and operators together. So it was like CEO brought their COO, or
cool.
visionary brought their integrator. And we actually split some of the sessions. So it was like integrators over here, visionaries over here. And the reason was, what we find is a lot of times visionary wants to talk about what's working. Integrator wants to talk about what's not working.
Yep. Yes. Oh my God.
And so
To a
just from
T.
like a conversational
To a T.
standpoint, there's like an immediate disconnect where they're not on the same page, or like they don't have productive meetings because integrator goes, well, I want to talk about what's not working, and visionary checks out.
Yeah.
And then vice versa, visionary goes, I want to dream and talk about these big ideas. And the integrator's like, I don't see how that's possible right now.
Oh my God. He is like creepy. He must spy on us.
So because you do both, what's important for an integrator and operator to know to work together? Because I will tell you that the breakdown for us.
You mean a visionary? And an operator.
Sorry, visionary and operator.
What's the key to them working together successfully?
What's the key to them working together? Because there's a language barrier, and it can shut both of them down. Like if they're not learning how to speak each other's language.
Yeah, I think there's two big things I see. One is a lot of times there are not high-powered integrators. There are a lot of times just employee mentality that have been promoted because they're very efficient, and they're still very much so like yes men. And so you actually need a really strong integrator. I would imagine this is probably why it works well with Nick, because as your brother, he's probably not afraid to push back.
No, not at all.
And most integrators aren't that way. They're afraid to push back. They're afraid to say, no, these are the objectives we committed to this quarter. And so I'm going to take your great idea and we're going to park it on the shelf here and we'll revisit it in 90 days. So I think a lot of times it's just the background of where they're coming from that's not equally matched. And so a lot of times the visionary will steamroll their integrator, and they're not hiring somebody that is, if you look at it in a more traditional sense, like could sit at the table at the C-suite, they're usually not hiring a C-suite caliber integrator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the first one.
And they need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And so that's the first part. The second one is it's a very different skill set to build the thing than it is to run the thing.
Explain.
So we use this analogy if you're familiar with like Formula One. Yeah. So in Formula One, you have the team principal. Yep. That would be like the visionary, right? He says, hey, we're gonna win the points cup. And we're going to do it. They like to dabble in like a little bit of macro strategy. So they're like, hey, we're going to do it by being the fastest in the corners. That's our like thing we're going to bet on. They then hand that off to their chief designer who has a whole team of mechanics that's going to build the race car. And so he's responsible for the actual implementation of taking everything that's theory, working out the micro strategy of how we're going to do it, and then really making the unseen real and physically building the race car. Once he does that, he then has to rope in the driver and go, hey, how far back do I put the seat? Do you know what all the buttons on the steering wheel do? How does the suspension actually feel? And we know that people support that, which they help to create. And so you do want to have some of those handoffs mid-process, but it's a very different skill set to be the designer than it is to be the driver.
Yeah.
And so what a lot of business owners do is they hire a driver and nobody has built a race car. And they put them out on the racetrack, either barefoot or in a go-kart.
Yeah.
And they expect them to go out and win races. And they get frustrated and the business owner gets frustrated. And it's really nobody's fault other than no one ever took the time to build the race car.
Yeah. No one said, hey, this is the architecture that you need. Would it be fair to say that a business cannot survive long-term? You will not hit your goals. You will not thrive if you don't have both a visionary and a strong integrator.
So I don't know if you're familiar with EOS. So I have a background in EOS. I'm a certified integrator implementer. And they actually say that a business can survive with an integrator and not a visionary.
Interesting.
But it can't survive the other way.
And I could see that. I could absolutely see that.
Oh, for sure.
Because so no ideas would ever get implemented.
In the short term, you may catch lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. But long term, somehow your competitors, the market, something is going to eventually catch up to you.
I will admit I cannot survive without an integrator.
Nope, absolutely not.
I cannot pull the vision all the way through consistently.
And I think energetically too, like you thrive when you know you have that counterpart that you can hand things off to, that you trust, who can then go and execute.
Yep.
Because you get to stay in your lane where you're the best, and then them vice versa. Like I said, they want to dig into what's not working. All the stuff that annoys you and
sure.
It's in the back of your mind. Oh gosh, I got to handle that. Like they're like, oh yes, let me at it.
Give us real examples of what companies hire you to do specifically, so that people could be like, oh wait, I need that.
Yeah, great question. So we work with a lot of real estate investors, and primarily we kind of stumbled into this niche primarily because most real estate investors get in the business for the lifestyle, the freedom, and as the business starts to grow, it starts
there
to
goes that freedom,
their lifestyle and their freedom. So they're very aware of the problem. They want to solve the problem. And if they've had any kind of success, they can afford to solve the problem, but they don't want to learn how to do it. They just want somebody to do it for them, take it off their plate. Some of them, and this would be not just the real estate investors, this is other business owners as well. Sometimes they hire somebody to be that integrator that they know, like, and trust, but doesn't have the business acumen or doesn't have the industry specific knowledge. And so nobody's built the race car, but they have a driver, but he's not the best driver. And so they're like, hey, I need somebody to help get my driver up to speed. And I probably could use some help fine tuning the race car as well. So we do a couple of different things, but we will come into the business fractionally. So I have a team, CFOs, leadership development coaches, business managers. We support a lot of functions within the business. But we'll come in and we'll actually build the race car for you. We say, like, we're not trying to hire ourselves as the driver. We're not trying to become a permanent solution. So we'll build the race car, and then we do a lot of coaching for the operator themselves. So because I kind of speak both languages, I do quite a bit of advisory work with founders, business owners, where they want somebody they can bounce ideas off of, whether they're still in a position where they're doing a lot of it themselves, or they have somebody on their team, but they don't necessarily want to show the underbelly to somebody on their team and lose confidence, and they want somebody to kind of bounce some of the ideas off of. So we support primarily the owner, where I work with them one-on-one, or we have a whole team where we'll come in from the operations side of things to help support the operator.
How long does that take? Like, is that a 3-month contract, a 6-month contract? Like, how long until things like, oh, good, it's working again, we're ready to race?
Yeah, great question. It It can depend on the size of the company. Really, what we focus on is not so much the dollars, like the revenue numbers that somebody's at, but more so the employee headcount or the department headcount. So like we've got a client right now that has 250 employees, but we work within different silos of their business. And so this department has 20 people. This department has 6 people. And so we focus on each one at a time. Those stints usually are 3 to 6 months, right? So it kind of depends on like, how big of a mess have you made?
Yeah.
How many people are there? How many people, when one of the big things people hire us for is they want results, they want accountability. And so one of the things we'll do early on is just put in some basic like metrics or KPIs to see like, what are we doing? Let's get a baseline of where we're at. And we say this is one thing that often distinguishes your A players from your C players. Because on the surface, it can look like you have a lot of B players. And sometimes it's a C player that's tricking you. Yeah. And sometimes it's an A player that doesn't know what the expectations are.
Oh, wow.
And so when you put metrics in place, it lets the A player know what their batting average is so that they can say, oh, I can see where I can get better here. And they step up to the challenge. And the C players that are tricking you, that are disguised as B players, they feel like they're under a microscope. They don't like being held accountable.
Because their secret's about to be exposed.
Totally. So we've actually had this where, we came into an organization and they asked, hey, I have this guy. I don't know that he's the right fit, but I don't have anything to like prove it. Can you just kind of help us vet him and either, help him get up to speed and do what he needs to do, or like give me some more data behind why he may not be the right fit. And we did this exactly. We put in just a basic scorecard. We do what's called a Shack Stack. And so we evaluate the skills, habits, attitude, capacity, and knowledge for that position.
Oh, hence Shack.
Yep.
I thought it's like something with Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh, no. Just acronym. And so we did those 2 things. And I think it was within 3 weeks, the guy put in his 2 weeks notice.
That's great.
Because he was just so resistant to being held accountable and seeing where he was at. And so it was
he couldn't coast anymore.
Well, this solved itself, I guess.
He was found out.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's so powerful just for the founder, because those are some of the things that just like keep you up.
Totally.
Like they just take up so much mental bandwidth. So where do you think your skill sets came from? You've had some pretty cool careers that probably kind of helped build this, but tell me where you think it came from.
Yeah, I think the biggest piece was I spent a lot of time in automotive. And in automotive, everything's focused on gross profit. And so we only built operations for the sake of revenue, for the sake of gross profit. And so when I interact with a lot of businesses or I look at other consulting agencies or EOS implementers, it's like a lot of times they build operations for the sake of operations, almost like a bookkeeper. Like they're just like, we're going to make this neat and tidy because I personally like order and think everybody should have order. And it's like, yeah, but there's no like,
what's the goal?
Yeah, what's the goal? What are we really after here?
Yeah.
And so we really approach what we do from a revenue standpoint and look at it like feedback I often hear is everybody wants to double or triple. Like if you get a baseline of like, where are you at currently? Like we heard it this weekend.
Yeah.
Right. Here's where I'm at right now. Here's where I want to be. And it's usually 2x to 3x wherever they're at. Whether they're focused on a revenue number or a profit number, it's 2 to 3 times.
Yep.
And so the analogy we say is everybody has a 1-story house and they want to add a 2nd story or a 3rd story on top of it. But before we can do that, we have to make sure the foundation can support it. And so operations is the unsexy sell of the operational
of the
work
foundation
to make sure the foundation can support the sales and the marketing that we're going to stack on top to build the 2nd and the 3rd floor. So I would say automotive was a huge part of that. And then I worked with my brother-in-law. We used to say he was the what and I was the how. And so I think there was just a little bit of that just kind of hardwiring. I'm a little bit more naturally operations focused, but that was a huge component of it. And then having a little bit of background in marketing as well as the EOS thing, it all kind of started to bleed together. And then I got introduced to a couple of really awesome real estate investors that uncovered, oh, there's some major gaps here that they need help with because they know how to buy deals. They know how to raise capital. They know how to manage property. But they don't know how to run the business. They don't know how to hire and train people and hold people accountable. And they don't really want to either. And so initially we came in with a little bit of an EOS mentality going like, oh, okay, we'll just run this playbook. And very quickly we realized like, oh, this is not a great fit. Like these verticals don't apply. And so essentially what we did is we used a lot of EOS as a jumping off point to recreate a real estate investor specific operating system. So instead of focusing on like EOS does sales, marketing, operations, finance, it's a little more complicated in real estate because a lot of times they're running 4 different businesses under one umbrella and calling it one business. And that's where a lot of the confusion and complexity comes from. So we break it down into 5 different verticals. So we have acquisitions, capital stack, whether you're raising from a retail investor, private institution, or just the debt side of things. Construction or development, because everybody either rehabs or does some kind of new construction, whether it's ADUs or they're building ground up. And then everybody has some kind of property management, whether they third party or not. There's still a level of accountability and metrics you have to look at. And then there's the finance component. And so we focus in on those 5 verticals, using very similar methodologies to how any operating consultant would, whether it's EOS or scaling up or, any system out there.
Can that be applied? You keep mentioning real estate investors. Can it be applied to other types of businesses and industries? Like, will you step into other companies?
Yeah. So I would say right now, probably 20% of our clients have nothing to do with real estate.
Okay.
I said, it's
what other types of industries?
Yeah. So I've got people in coaching, e-commerce, construction. So it doesn't have to be real estate specific. That was just something we most of our business is built on referrals. Mm-hmm. So real estate investors refer other real estate investors.
Yeah. And here's where I'm at.
You just find yourself in an industry all of a sudden.
Yeah. And it was just such a perfect fit where the problems that we solved were the problems that they had. And so we just gained a lot of momentum really quickly because of that.
One good example of this is, this other side expertise that you have, you take these skill sets of being like, okay, I can implement, I can plan and implement anything, into creating masterminds for other people that have great brands that have always wanted a mastermind or been curious about having a mastermind, but they're like, oh, I don't know how to do events. I don't know how to plan out a year's worth of content. I don't know how to do this. And you're the guy that steps in and says, no, I'll do all of that for you. Like, that fits your skill set. I can plan, I can execute, implement everything. And you're a guy that just loves mastermind because it's benefited your life a bunch.
Yeah.
So you're like, no, I can do all that for you. And then you go and you build this thing side by side with this person. And all of a sudden they have a mastermind that they would never have before that's printing money. And you're running the whole damn thing. Tell us about that.
Like content and everything.
Yeah, everything. It's wild. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was a huge beneficiary, I guess, of mastermind formats. Coming to your roundtable, a couple other groups I've been a part of, I've just seen such massive impact from that. And I would say I'm plagued by the fact that there's a better way. So I walk in any room and I feel like I can see how it could be better.
Yep.
Totally.
And we talked about this earlier this weekend, coming to an event like this, I sit first person and third person. I'm like, first person, okay, yeah, here's what I need. Here's what I'm working on. But also third person, I'm going, okay, here's the agenda they went through. Here's the timing of things. How long did they have us sit before we had a break? Mm-hmm. Right? Just all these little details. And,
which give us all your feedback.
Yeah.
I couldn't be in your shoes this time.
And so, so I just obsess about that, I guess. I just enjoy it a ton. I freaking love it. I've done events before, 3 back-to-back where it's, 10 days straight. And people would ask me you must be exhausted, the travel, to this. I'm like, I could do 3 more. It lights me up. And I really enjoy the collaboration that happens, right? How do you ask the right questions to get to the root cause of something, to help problem solve, but also get that amongst people, right? Where I love the pattern recognition that happens and putting the pieces together. And so getting that feedback where, okay, well, hold on, you know a little bit about this. Talk to this guy about what you're doing. Oh, that might be just the next thing that they need. And so I just love that environment. And I've gotten
so fun.
Yeah, I've gotten roped into doing it for a few different entrepreneurs where we do it all across the country. I've got a partner in that who is a sommelier, master of experience. You guys have actually been to some of his events. And so that has been something, again, just kind of stumbling into of I freaking love this. And again, it's, very complimentary where the founder, the CEO, they don't want to work on all the details and put all that together.
Right.
They want somebody else to handle all that for them.
Yep. So if people want to either work with you and have you come in and be their temporary COO team and clean everything up, right? Build a race car. Mm-hmm. Or if they're like, I'll take a mastermind where I don't have to do anything. How do they get a hold of you and how should they reach out?
Yeah. So online, I'm the RevOps coach because we focus on revenue operations.
Yep.
So you can go to the revopscoach.com and that has a lot of gateways, I would say, for the different things that we do, or on Instagram at the RevOps coach. And actually for your audience, I didn't want to leave them hanging with a bunch of great insight.
Yeah.
And
no way to take action.
Yeah. Because a lot of people too.
Because you're an integrator.
Yes.
So this is
100%.
driving you crazy.
This is the number one thing when I do events. The number one thing I look at is how do we take the information and turn it into action?
Yes.
Because otherwise it's just a conference.
Yeah.
We're just sitting there
like,
and
I'm going
listening to a bunch of stuff.
here. Yeah.
And so, I open this up just for your audience. If they DM me on Instagram, Toolkit, we have some coursework and some products, resources, checklists, EA playbooks, hiring toolkits that we typically sell as part of some other packages for $12.95. If they
as
DM
in $1,295.
Correct. Yeah. If they DM me Toolkit, I'll just send that to them for free. It's just
dude, that is so cool of you. Like, those are some serious tools.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's the stuff that when we come into a business fractionally, it's literally what we walk through. We're just doing it for you.
Damn,
but if somebody
that's
wants
a
to
nice
start
gift.
to take action themselves, they
Like,
can start
hello,
working through it.
everyone. Thanks for the $1,300 free gift.
Exactly.
That's cool. So how do they get it again?
So you go to the RevOps Coach on Instagram and you just DM me the word toolkit.
That's
Amazing.
freaking cool.
Well, we're so grateful for you. Is there anything that you want to leave with people?
I don't think so.
Like besides your toolkit.
Yeah. Besides the toolkit.
He's like, I just gave you everything, lady. What else do you want? No, I'm really grateful for you. You are, I think one of the biggest eye-opening things for me when I got into business is I didn't understand truly that relationship between visionary and integrator. I just thought that in business, like I was supposed to come up with the idea and I was the person to like learn the website, do all the things. Like that felt like such a heavy responsibility for me. And truly, it's so much fun now that everyone's pulling back the curtain of their business, because I don't know if you remember, like 10 years ago, nobody was talking about their integrator who was doing everything on the other side of their vision. And it actually felt so disempowering. And so I think it was it's so great for me to meet people like you and go, wait a minute, I can be in my zone of genius because you exist. Like I actually felt so disempowered and not smart. And like, really, I felt like there was something wrong with me because I just didn't understand that side and my brain didn't work that way. So I hope that everybody listening knows, like, your business, if you are not excited about the things that he mentioned, like, you actually shouldn't be doing them. You should be finding an Ian, somebody like Ian, and going and being able to do what you do, because you'll be able to pull, a visionary can typically pull in the eyeballs. They're going to be that top of funnel and you can take care of the rest. So that changed our lives when we were like, wait, this is how people operate. There's a visionary and an integrator, and they're very clear, the two different jobs.
I've had people say to me, sorry to cut you off, but they've said to me like, well, I'm not a good entrepreneur like you. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not good at anything other than a vision. And then finding the Ians in my life, or in my case, Nick and Matt, my business partner, but finding the Ians in my life to make everything else happen, or I would just be a nobody. Like nothing would happen.
Yeah. Yeah. It's one of the first things we do with business owners. We have a tool, we call it income producing activities versus everything else.
Yep.
Yes.
And so we audit kind of like ROI on your time. Where should you be focusing, right, to help grow the business? But one of the things we also look at is just energetically, like what drains you, sucks the life out of you. Okay, get that the heck off your plate as well, because that's not going to benefit anybody if you're stuck doing the stuff that drains you. For me, I worked in finance for a few years, and I would be the guy bubble, hey, how you doing, blah, blah. And I'm not super extroverted. It takes a lot to like, gumption up this level of charisma.
I'm the same way.
You're just going to stare at a wall.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so I would come home and I would eat a pint of ice cream and go to bed. And I was just like, it just drained me. But I just thought, oh, this is what hard work feels like. And so I think if you're in that place where, it's draining and exhausting and you feel like you're working really hard, there's probably some areas that you probably shouldn't be doing some of that stuff.
Interesting. Good
So
call
true.
to action there.
Yeah, honestly, now that we've gotten more in our zones of genius through the years, now that we've figured it out, people are like, wow, how do you do all the things you do? I'm like, it's because everything I do, I love. It gives me energy. Like, where before I was just he knows, for about 10 years, I was exhausted all the time. I started to resent like customers or clients, and it wasn't their fault. It was because I was in so many things that were not, I wasn't supposed to be in them. So everything flipped when I got to put the right people in the right place, get the integrators, find those people who could support me. It's really life-changing. I can do more. We can make more money when I don't have to be doing those things.
Yeah. And sometimes like in the beginning, it's a luxury to be able to afford.
Yeah.
That it's hard to have the vision for.
Right.
But I think that there are, stair steps to get there. There's a plan you can start putting in place to go, okay, how do I start getting some of this stuff off and build some momentum in it?
And we can get that from your toolkit.
Yeah.
So we can go find all of those things.
Yeah.
So you guys
at RevOps Coach on Instagram or RevOps.com, right?
The RevOpsCoach.com, the RevOps Coach on Instagram. Yeah.
Awesome.
And you guys can go click the show notes, go check those out, and that's all down there. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
it,
you
buddy.
guys so much. Thank you for this weekend. It was great.
We had
It's
the
great
best
because
time.
you're here.